Hello.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Building Hexico. Today, my guest here is Tim Benjamin.
You may. Okay.
Rugged.
All right. We're back.
We're back. All right. Hopefully,
Slight.
what is it I wanted to do? There we go. Perfect. Okay. So, yeah, slight technical difficulties. Every now and then, my Starlink satellite is not getting service, but that's okay. We made it. Yeah, so I am in Denver and Tim is here also in Denver because he's speaking at the meetup today. So
Yes.
pretty stoked about that. I'm excited to hear what he's got to say. But before that, I asked if he would come on and do this Building Hexico stream with me so we could just get to know him a little bit more. So without further ado, I'm going to start asking questions. All right. So, Tim, the first question is, what does Hexico mean or look like to you?
Well, been thinking about this a little bit, and I kind of relate it to um, the time when the Declaration of Independence was written. You know, the founders of America had an idea in mind as far as how they would relate to one another, how they would relate to society, how they would relate to the subject of property. And to me, I see Hexico is establishing a society on that same understanding. You have a group of people who come together with a common purpose to live a certain quality of life, who are willing to discuss what are the parameters for maintaining and establishing quality of life. You know, it's one thing to discuss this, conceptually, but to actually execute this in real life, where you're having real people engaging with one another. One of the biggest challenges with most societies is conflict resolution. You can look on Twitter, Hexicans are at each other's throats over the dumbest things. So if you have real people living in a real area, and they're having real engagement with one another, there has to be a civilized way of resolving disputes. Otherwise, people are just going to resort to violence. And obviously, none of us want that. So to me, building Hexico really has most to do with communication and people coming to a common understanding of the quality of life that they want, what that is involved and how that relates with other people that are participating in that same society. I can elaborate on all of these different things in detail, but there's other questions that you'd like to ask. So we can move on from there if you would like.
Yeah. Okay. That's a great answer. I love that you related it back to like the Declaration of Independence. And I checked out your website a little bit and saw that, that's a big, you're very patriotic, which is pretty cool. Like I feel like that's kind of rare these days to find people that are patriotic.
I have an interest in history and government and, putting these things into practice. So in that way, I consider myself a patriot in that regard.
Nice. Yeah, I just to kind of speak on Hexico a little bit. I just recently, or just this morning, had a really cool encounter with a Hexican who I've known for a while, Torin, who's in the chat right now.
Yes.
Probably driving. Hi, bye, Torin. So yeah, I've known Torin just, you know, for at least probably I feel like a year, especially through Hex Guild. We've talked a bit through there, and he came down. He's got family here, and then also was considering helping out with the bus and some things, but just, you know, just life happened and things kind of became kind of messy. And I hope you don't mind that I'm not going to share a lot about it, but I hope you don't mind I'm sharing a little bit about that.
Sure, show. Share away.
Yeah. So, you know, but at the very least, I got to see him and give him a hug. And to me, that's part of also building Hexico, right? Yeah. Is just like these meetups, you know, me going around the whole, you know, United States in this bus and getting to have these face-to-face interactions with other Hexicans. It really brings everything into the real world, right? Mm-hmm. Like the physical versus like this digital, like I can't touch you,
right?
You know, kind of thing. So I'm hopeful that this kind of stream and these actions that we take in terms of meeting up with people. And I really also appreciate and love that you do, you put together meetups in Arizona.
Yes.
That you organize that. And, you know, we need more of that, you know, if there's, let's say like you're in Arizona too, but maybe you live like 2 hours north or south of where Tim's at, right? Like we're eventually going to need even smaller groups of Hexican meetups. Like I think that's kind of the goal, right?
It is for me.
Yeah, it's like so you start it, you know, people come to you, and then eventually like they'll take that idea and hopefully they're going to onboard people around them, and then they're going to be able to organize their own meetups. Anyway, I digress. We're going to keep going.
The point being is personal interaction is crucial to the success of this kind of endeavor.
Yes, 100%. So why do you choose to do this with your time? You know, just like promoting Hex in general or organizing the meetups. Like, what is it about this ecosystem or this community that kind of keeps you going and drives you to do what you do?
A lot of that has to do with the product itself.
Mm-hmm.
And for many years, I have had an unction to want to be financially independent. And what that means is not simply having a lot of money, mm-hmm. but having a means of having money come in that is sufficient to pay for my cost of living, that doesn't require me constantly having to exchange my time and my labor in order to get that money. Yeah. Hex is a product that allowed that vision to come to pass. I don't take that lightly. And so as a form of my appreciation for being able to meet that goal is why I do meetups, why I'm willing to travel all over the country to speak at functions, to meet with people on a personal basis, to help them, you know, utilize the product in the same way that I did to get the same results that I got, if that's what they really want. Mm-hmm. You know, this isn't a magic act. It's not just blind luck. You know, there is real effort that is required. There's real commitment that's required. You know, we call it being diamond handed. Mm-hmm. You know, this isn't just, you know, a make-a-wish thing. It's real, and it requires real work to accomplish. And I'm willing to help people do that if they're willing to believe in the product. So that's why I do what I do, and I enjoy it. And I do all this at my own personal expense.
Yeah.
I have a car that's wrapped with all kinds of crypto logos. And the number one question I ask is, who's paying you to advertise their stuff? And I'm like, nobody. That's my design. Those are products that I believe in. I paid to have my car wrapped. Mm-hmm. I paid to travel, you know, several states away to have somebody that I consider a friend do the wrap when I could have hired somebody locally to do it.
Right.
But because of the personal interaction that's involved in the success of our community, I was willing to make that personal cost to have that done. So That's why I do what I do, is because of the results I've got from doing it.
Smart. Was that the same people that wrapped the vans just now?
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah,
Super cool.
Yeah,
very
Josh.
cool. And yeah, so a Hexican. That's what I love, and that's another part of why I want to do more like this, right? Because I feel like building Hexico is already happening.
Yeah.
And I was just talking. I was either just talking with someone or just listening to a stream where they were speaking about how much it makes sense for us to keep our financial energy within our ecosystem,
Yeah.
right? Like you going to another Hexican states away and paying him to do the wrap,
yeah,
and versus hiring someone locally. Like that makes way more sense.
It's like building Hexico is building people.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, once we build each other to a certain point, we can take that to a whole other level that could involve acquiring property and utilizing that property in a way that benefits everybody who's a participant.
Yeah. And I love that I keep hearing that. I can't wait until this next bull run happens and like we actually get to start to see these kind of dreams and visions and things that we've talked about for the last like couple years start to come to fruition. Because I know that there are people that have already started little projects like that. Like, have you heard about the guy that's in Zanzibar that started a intentional community kind of thing?
No, I haven't.
So he
here
we're back. Yay. Sorry, everyone. Hopefully this will only happen maybe once or twice more, because I think what happens is as the satellite is like orbiting, like every 10 minutes or something, I get disconnected a little bit. So just hang in there. If that happens again, we'll be back. Just keep that in mind.
We're not leaving the bus real soon.
Yeah. But let me see. Hold on. I was going somewhere with that whole Hexico thing. And yeah, just that vision of having an actual like physical, and I think Hexico is going to end up being multiple places, right? So like the guy in Zanzibar, that's where I was going. He's already got this whole system kind of going, and I think he had to stop because we're in a bear market, but
sure.
You know what I mean? Like people have definitely already started to build this physical place where Hexicans can come and work together and build something. Like
there's no reason why we can't have places all over the planet,
right?
I mean, we don't have to concentrate on one piece of real estate.
Mm-hmm.
We can have multiple ones.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. All right, next question.
The Hexicans are inheriting the earth.
Yeah, we are. I'm so excited for that. Like I really, this is just such an amazing movement to have been a part of, or to be a part of. And for me, one of the coolest things I've mentioned before is like finding like these little microcosms of things that I already loved within the Hexican community. Like before any of this crypto anything, I was super into permaculture and growing your own food and drum and bass. Hey, Richard's a junglist, and there's a whole group called the Hex Guild that, a lot of what they do is revolved around permaculture and building things like that. So, all right, next question.
Yes.
Would you share a quote from Sci-Vive and why it's meaning?
There's a quote. It's fairly short, and it deals with simplicity. Richard says, if you can't explain it simply, then you probably can't explain it at all. Simplicity is king. And I tend to be that way. I've been that way before I read about it in Richard's book, which is why nice. I like that quote so much. It's like that already explains how I do. It reminds me of a quote from Steve Jobs in his biography. He said something to the effect that if you have to rely on PowerPoint in order to make a point, you don't know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And, people who do know what they're talking about can say it in one sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And if the person is interested, they'll let you know. And then that gives you liberty to go into as much detail as you need to extrapolate on that. But simplicity is the key, especially when you're dealing with digital products like Hex. you have to be able to communicate to people in simple terms in order for them to grab hold of it. And that's really going to be the essence of what I'm going to share at our gathering this evening, because there's going to be newer people there who probably don't know anything about crypto.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to introduce the subject to them in a very simple terms, in a simple way. And I've been thinking about this for days. So it's like I'm already prepared to introduce the subject in the way that I will. But simplicity is king.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite quote from
Nice.
Sci-Vive.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. I
Sure.
love that. That's a good one for sure. And it's a good reminder, because being out on the road like this, I get asked a lot, like, you know, people, what is PulseChain? Like, what is this? You know, and it unless, like, it's been hard to explain, because if you don't know what Ethereum is, right? Like, how am I supposed to explain to you that this is a copy of this, like, system state? And
and to take it even deeper, most people my age don't really grasp the digital world, because I didn't have my first computer until I was a teenager. Most people that are younger than me, they have a computer in their house from the time that they're born.
Yep.
So their ability to comprehend the digital world is something that they're born into.
Yeah.
It's natural to them. But old people, and the only reason we had a computer in my house when I was a teenager is because I was a computer nerd. It's because of me, not my parents. So it's like most older people who are, you know, grandparents and grandparents, they don't really comprehend the digital world. They barely know how to operate a computer. So to explain a digital product to them, you know, that takes talent.
Yeah.
And, you know, that, you know, the ability to explain that simply, you know, that takes talent. But once you have that, that's where we can have some really big breakthroughs.
Nice. I'm super looking forward to the way that you're going to break it down for us today. And just random side note, if y'all are interested, a lot of this is being recorded in terms of the meetups and things like that. So all the speakers, like we just had RH Max speak at the last conference in Seattle. Obviously, RG3 is doing his presentation each time we do a seminar. Today, I'll be recording Tim and what he's saying and like the way he's going to present this. There's a digital ticket for the PulseChain tour. So if you can't make it to one of these events, consider getting the digital ticket, because that's going to have a lot of content that people, you know, are going to get to see from all over the place. So just, you know, shameless self-promotion plug. All right. So the next questions are a little more just like short, like quick format and just like getting to know you personally.
Okay.
So the first is, what is on your musical playlist right now?
Well, to be honest, I don't actually have a playlist.
Okay.
How I roll is, if a song is on my mind that I want to hear, I pull it up on YouTube.
Okay.
And it can be anything from, you know, I have playlists in my head. I don't have them on a computer. I have them in my head. Like, I have a list called Dad. My dad's passed away. So I have a list of songs that I know my dad liked. And when I feel like listening to one of those songs, I pull that up. I have another playlist in my head called The Grateful Dead, because that was my favorite band growing up.
Okay.
And even though I haven't really been that much into them in recent years, there's a Hexican who goes by the name of Hex Monkey.
I know Hex Monkey. Yeah, shout out Hex Monkey.
You know, he came from California to see me in Arizona, and we went and saw Dead & Company in Phoenix.
Nice.
So, as a matter of fact, I let him know that I have a little gift that the guy who wrapped my car made. He made one for me, and I had him made one for Hex Monkey, and they got shipped yesterday morning.
Ooh, exciting.
They're basically t-shirts that are going to have a certain layout on them that I don't want to give away here until we actually get them. I don't want to spoil it for Hex Monkey in case he's watching this.
Cool.
But so those are what I would consider some of my personal playlists. I have another playlist in my head that I call Road Trip, that I have songs on there that I consider ideal to listen to if I'm traveling long distance, which I seem to do a lot.
Do you have like an example?
Yes, a song called All the Way to Memphis from a band called Mata Hoople.
Okay. I'm gonna have to look that up.
You would have to. It's a song from the 70s. So if you're not familiar with classic rock, most of my favorite songs are 20th century music, classic rock.
Yeah.
it's funny to hear Richard Hart talk about his favorite band in high school being Led Zeppelin. That was my favorite band when I was in junior high school. I moved on to the Grateful Dead in high school.
Yeah, that was not like, I know these bands, right? But that was, my parents were not into that kind of music.
Okay.
So I had a lot of the Doors and the Beatles and, like, you know, that kind of classic rock music. But
they would be on the playlist too.
Okay, nice.
So
that's good stuff. Cool. I don't go through comments very often, but I'm gonna do a little bit real quick.
Sure.
So say what's up to the chat. Hi, Torin. Hope you're driving safely. Thanks for showing up, Harmonic Hexican. Appreciate you. I think I've said this before, but I should get you on my Woman Crush Wednesday stream, girl. Hey. What's up, Basing Reality? Thank you so much for coming. Let's see. And we got hold. Just hold. That's what we're gonna do. That's what we do. We hold.
All right.
Bit Finesse. Hey, man. I can't believe you're in New Mexico. I feel like we just did this because you were somewhere else.
I just drove through Albuquerque and then got on I-25 to come here.
So, Bit Finesse, I know why Torin was trying to get a hold of you, and it has to do with my bus. So if you know anyone in this area, in the Denver area or around, that can do kingpin replacement, I am in need. So here's the thing is I found the parts. I have a place that can do it on Monday or Tuesday, I think, but it's just the labor. It's very labor intensive, and the labor that they want to charge me is $225 an hour.
Oh, wow.
And and it's at minimum a 6-hour job from what I've heard. So I'm just trying to find another way. Like I obviously, like, I'm just going to pay it if I have to, but like, if we know anyone in the Hexican community that would be willing to do this job at a lesser rate, that'd be great. Cause and then, you know, just like we were talking about earlier, I'd rather keep my economic energy within the Hex community. So if any Hexicans out there can do that, super cool. Thanks, Bit Finesse. Thanks for coming by. Who else is in here? I saw someone else. Yeah, Sloth, what's up? Slothy, good to see you, man. Thanks for your support. I appreciate it. Love everything you do. DJ Pollywood and some Hexican. What's up, dudes? What's up? Where you at? I hope you're here soon. Can't wait to see your rap, some Hexican. Polly's looks awesome. So Kingpin or fifth wheel, both can be pretty pricey. It's the Kingpins on the 2 front wheels, and it is pricey. Yeah, so that's why. All right. Anyways, back to the show. Enough about me and this crazy little bus. All right. So next question is, what is your favorite dish or type of cuisine?
Anything plant-based.
Okay.
I love it all.
Nice.
Except fennel. Fennel's the, you know, that's
interesting. I like fennel.
Really?
Yeah. I'm a fennel fan. I love I like black licorice.
Yeah. See,
so I love that taste, like that flavor in here.
The smell and the taste of that is just, it kind of clashes with me.
Interesting.
That's anything else plant-based, I absolutely love.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite, like, meat replacement? Like, do you prefer like a grain and bean patty or like a Beyond Burger?
I've had a couple Beyond Burgers recently, and I really enjoyed them. I actually have my own burger recipe that I make with oatmeal.
Ooh.
And I've made those and given them to meat eaters, and they couldn't tell the difference.
Wow, nice. That's cool.
And I've never gotten any criticism on them. I've always gotten compliments from people. And even after I told them that wasn't animal, that was oatmeal.
Yeah.
They're like, really? So I prefer to make all of my own dishes from scratch.
Nice. I do a lot of that too.
Yeah. I tend to avoid things that have labels. It's like, if it has ingredients on it that you can't pronounce, chances are your body can't digest it very good either.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. And I years ago went from working in a video game company to working on a farm, and the moment I pulled a beet out of the ground that I grew myself and like washed it off and took a bite, like my whole life changed.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, this is food.
Yeah.
This is food. That's where food comes from.
Yeah.
The ground. So I've gone back and forth with it, but
Sure.
I do tend to eat more plant-based than not. And I think it's delicious.
I tend to go back and forth. You know, I'll have dairy once in a while, especially if I'm like having a meal at other people's houses. I don't expect people cater to me to that degree.
Right.
But like when I do my own grocery shopping, everything I buy is plant-based.
Very cool.
So
yay,
yeah.
plants. Nom nom nom.
I'm a big fan of breakfast food. Any kind of breakfast dish.
Yeah.
I love. I can eat at any hour of the
meal.
day.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I do intermittent fasting, so I usually skip breakfast, but I'm the same way. Like if I can have, I'll put an egg on anything.
Sure.
For me, like I'll have like what leftovers from yesterday, and I'll put an egg on it, and that's like breakfast for me. All right. So next question. So outside of music, what other kind of content are you consuming? Like what shows do you watch, or are there books that you're reading? Like, you know, what is it that you're taking in?
I'm really not much of a television person. I had a friend that was really into Breaking Bad. So I saw Breaking Bad, and of course I got into Better Call Saul. So those are some series that I've watched recently, at least in the last couple of years. I've been an avid reader my entire life. Ever since I was like 4 years old, I just fell in love with reading.
I saw that on your website too. Yeah.
The big thing is now is the content that I read is all nonfiction material. I'm into reading books on history, money, crypto. That is the majority. That's almost all the content that I consume is nonfiction things. I'm not into like Game of Thrones or Harry Potter or anything nonfiction. Like I said, I watched Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul because I had some friends that were into that. And I grew up a big Star Wars geek.
Okay.
And I've seen most of the Star Wars stuff. But even still, my life doesn't really revolve around that. I'm mostly into nonfiction stuff.
Nice. Yeah, same. I pivoted. Like I was very much into fiction for a while, but mostly because I didn't read growing up.
Okay.
Like I didn't hate it, but I just didn't want to.
Sure.
Like it wasn't something that I was like stoked about. So not until I was in my early 20s that I actually start really getting into books and reading. And I started with fiction. I read Harry Potter. I read the Narnia series.
Okay.
I did read the Great Game of Thrones.
Sure.
Really upset about that too, because I read all the books and I watched like maybe the first season or two of the show, and then found out that like he hadn't finished the book series but was doing all these shows, and like I guess the show, and I'm still mad about that. I want the last book to come out, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
It's kind of ironic that in the last couple years, people have talked about books like 1984 and Brave New World, about how important they are. Those were like required reading when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting that, kids today, as far as I know, they're not having to read those books in school. They're finding out about them, after they get out of college, it seems like.
Yeah.
And it's better that they find out now, eventually, that they get, even though those books are fictional, they help people understand the nature of the powers that be and the intent of nefarious people in this world that desire to exploit others for their own interest.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah, that's essentially the type of content that I'm most interested in.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I mean, I'm all that to say about my fiction stuff, that all I have now is nonfiction up there.
Right.
Like for the most part, it's like a little bit of self-help stuff, and then some crypto books,
right.
and which I still need to read. But anyways, all right, next question. Okay, so what content are you creating? What is it that you put out into the world? And you can also, because I don't think I have this in here. Yeah. You can also like shill any links or anything that you want to at this point.
The most recent content I've made have been, I made a YouTube video recently about the progress of some real estate that I bought in Arizona. I bought my first piece of real estate this year, and I have a house building project that I'm working on, and I'm making a video. I'm documenting that video wise, and I'm going to be posting that on YouTube. I just made a video about that recently. Apart from that, the other content that I'm working on is actually more of a religious nature. And I've made some videos, but I haven't published them yet. And when I do publish them, I don't know if I'm going to publicly shill them. They're going to be
Mhm.
publicly available, but until I have more definite direction on, promoting those things, I'm not going to promote them just because of their nature.
Okay.
And, I don't know how well received they'll be also because, subjects of that nature can kind of bring out the contentious side of people.
True.
And that's not my intent. But, the truth is true. And some people have different ways of responding to that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that is content that I'm currently working on. So,
nice.
We'll see how that goes as I actually publish those things. So,
very cool. Very cool. Yeah. No, it's, I like that because it really takes all kinds of people, right, for us to build, build whatever this Hexico is, right?
Sure.
And that's part of why I've gone back and forth with having the time to do this, but I've been putting out content on just the bus in general, right? Because people are interested in van life and bus living and things like that. So,
sure.
For you to put out religious content, like who knows how those videos may affect someone or bring someone who wouldn't have been interested in Hex or this ecosystem, otherwise. And they came to you for this religious content. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, what is Hex? Like, how does this work? Right.
And, my heart is to just be a blessing to people. So, I don't have anything to prove personally. So.
Nice. All right. Next question is, and this is my last two questions, and I like these the best.
Okay.
What are you currently thankful for?
I would say I am thankful for the people that I have gotten to know through Hex that have been receptive of me. There's people that have allowed me in their house. They've allowed me to, stay in their house for like more than a day. I've gotten to know people's families. There's a certain level of trust that is required for those things to happen. And I'm thankful for that because I know how crazy the world is right now. And, you meet someone on the internet, you don't know what they're like in real life.
Yeah.
They could be a nutcase for all you know. So, there's a certain level of risk and trust involved to meet a stranger.
Yeah.
And, like I said, I've traveled all over the country multiple times. And, I've met people along the way that I've been able to interact with. And I'm thankful for those interactions because, trust is earned. It's not given. So, I'm thankful for, that's what I'm really thankful for is the connections I've made with people.
That's beautiful. That's like the perfect answer for this show. Because that kind of that's also building Hexico, like
it's a real answer though. It's not a script.
Yeah.
It's not scripted.
Yeah.
It's just where where I'm really at.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. And then the last question is, and a big reason I do this show, which it's funny because Hexo, who I had on last time, was just like, I don't have an answer to this question, which is totally fine too.
Okay.
What might you be in need of? And I like just kind of saying like this, maybe that's like there's someone around in the community that has a skill that you're looking for. If you need help with something, just you need a hug, like whatever it is, like how is there any way that the community can help you at this point?
Well, I'm never going to turn down a hug. Personally, as far as what I'm in need of, I'm really not, that I know of at the moment, I'm not in need of anything material. Like I don't need someone to do something for me in that regard. I don't need a plumber to come to my house. I don't need a mechanic for anything immediate.
Right.
But in principle, one thing that I would say that I would be in need of would be for the people that might be interested in getting to know me in a personal way. What I would need of them is to simply believe what I say, to just trust me, because that's how relationships are built. And that's how Hexico needs to be built. What I don't need is to be people to be prejudiced of me.
Yeah.
That's something I don't need. I need the opposite of that. That is an ingredient that's necessary in successful interaction. So that's, you know, the last time I went out on a date with someone and, you know, she expressed a personal interest to me on our date, that was my response to her. It's like, you know, I need you to believe me.
Mm-hmm.
And she thought she did, but she really didn't. And that, you know, that became evident very quickly.
Wow.
She was just pretending.
Huh.
And I saw that, and I had to let her know that. And, you know, things kind of got worse from there.
Yeah.
But that's reality. It's like, you know, there's a certain level of trust that needs to exist between people if they're going to have any kind of prosperous shared prosperity.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm in need of.
Nice. That's a great answer.
That, to me, that's a hug.
Yeah.
That's another form of hugging that doesn't involve putting your arms around another person's body. Although I like those too.
Yeah. It releases what, oxytocin? Is that right? When you hug?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Some kind of thing.
Very cool. I think I have a bonus question.
Cool.
No, I lied. I don't. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
For my guest here? Anyone? We all need to floss.
Okay.
You mean like the dance floss? The floss dance? I can do that.
Personal hygiene is always a plus. I would certainly not disregard that.
Yeah. I'm sure Crypto Sloth would also approve of that message, as he is a dentist. Congrats, Sloth.
Somebody, Machiavelli asked the question, is libertarianism anarchy life?
I know you know a lot about libertarianism, yes.
Well, I'm a card-carrying libertarian, and I had been the county chairman for the Libertarian Party in Yavapai County, Arizona for the last couple years. Right now, someone else is doing it at the moment, but I'm still involved very much. The answer to that question, if I can actually cogitate on that for a moment.
Absolutely. Please do.
Is libertarianism anarchy life? Well, in a way, that depends on how you define anarchy. A lot of people who are not involved in the libertarian circles, they tend to fear anarchy because they think of it as lawlessness, you know, social breakdown, violence, and stuff like that. And the way I've had fellow libertarians explain it to me, because that's the way I would naturally approach the subject of anarchy. I kind of shy away from it. But the way other libertarians have explained it to me is that anarchy isn't the absence of rules, it's just the absence of rulers. And in that sense, if the people who are participating in that society, you know, are mature enough to resolve conflict without having to engage in violence, then I could answer that question, yes. But, you know, putting that in actual practice involves a lot more than simply sharing ideas. Again, you have people actually having real interaction with each other. And when you bring children into that equation, you know, children naturally react to life from their natural instincts. You know, children need to be disciplined, you know, if they're going to respond to life from any other principle than just their natural instincts. So that adds complication to the answer of that question. And, you know, when you talk about Hexico, you know, one of the reasons people want to create Hexico is to create an environment to raise children in that is independent of all the chaos of the public school system and stuff.
Yes.
Okay, well, still, those children are going to interact with one another. And chances are they're not all going to get along, and they're going to want to hit each other. And, you know, there's got to be a way of resolving those conflicts on principle and not with violence. And that brings a challenge to addressing these kinds of questions. I mean, but for now, I would say yes to Machiavelli's question.
Very cool.
So. Okay, we're back. We're back quick.
Satellites are working all right. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's our show. Usually they run 30 to 45 minutes, so I think we're good on time.
Yeah, we're about 30-40 minute marks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, actually it says 40 minutes up there. So
well thank you.
Thank you for having me on here. I always love the opportunity to just, kick it with people.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's what the show is about. And if I am coming, check out pulsechaintour.com. If I'm coming to a town near you and you want to be on this show, hit me up. Hit me up. Guess Elon's out of helium. LOL. Very funny. DJ Bomber, what's up? Caught the end. I'll have to replay. Please do. What kind of music do you DJ Bomber? I am intrigued. Hit me up on the Twitter because I'm about to end this stream. All right, y'all. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for everyone watching on the replay. Tweet it out. Shout it out. Click all the buttons. I'm not rags to riches. I want your attention. That's been my new line. Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
See y'all.